First things first, spine tall from the buttock bones to the base of the skull. Second, the arms and legs release away from that spine. That structurally, those muscles of the arms are attached into that spine. Legs anchored in the spine. So you release the whole limb away from the spine. In nervous system terms, you have to release those arms and legs away from the brain. So there is this physical sense of receding down and out. Keep the spine tall, but let the arms, legs, and nerves subside. Join your palms. Close your eyes with these senses and attention drawn inward. Take a moment to pay homage to this practice and to that root teacher who brought this technology, this wisdom to us, Patanjali. And in honor of that teacher and your practice, bow your head and release your hands. Raise your head and open your eyes. Stretch your legs completely. So if you're stiff in the hips, you stay up, or even increase the height as you may need to in order to completely stretch the leg. So this back knee should be open. This spine should be upright. So if that can't happen, you add height. If it can't happen without pain, add height, okay? You have to be able to, your goal here is to not suffer. That might be difficult, but suffer less. So take more height. Lift that spine up. Lift your ribs up. Stretch your legs once again away from the spine, out to the feet, away from the brain, out to those feet, out to the toes. The head is not pulled. The head stays tall. The spine gets longer and the legs stretch. Keep that height. I'm illustrating with my hands, but you do it internally. Now stretch your arms. So if you have long arms, they may come away from you farther. If you have short arms, they may come in closer. But stretch your elbows straight. Keep that spine long. Stretch your legs. Now stretch the arms away from the spine, away from the skull. Keep the height. Fully stretch the arms. So this triceps is working, the outer arm. It's kind of underneath the arm now. As much as this thigh is working, the upper arm is working. Turn your palms up, take your arms up. If you have stiffness in the shoulders, feel free to get a strap and hold on to it to make it easier to push up. When you push up with the arms, do not distract the legs. Push down, stretch out through the heels. Think of your back. Stretch your back. Don't contract the back. Open the back. Release, come out. Come out. Turn to take Adho Mukha Svanasana. When you do, take your hands wide on the sticky mat. So wider than your shoulders. Not shoulder width. There's me at shoulder width. I'm going wide. Likewise, the feet. So you see, my foot goes out to the width of the mat also. Feet to the width, hands to the width. And the proper distance between these two, knees and wrists, okay? Point your fingers forward as best you can instead of out. Go forward, okay? And stretch those arms away from the spine. If you watch me, I'm not pushing my spine up to the ceiling, but instead I'm rolling that triceps in. And that triceps rolling it in makes this spread. You got that? Okay, so you don't have to push your spine up to get spreading. Now you come off the knees. Keep that upper arm tucked in and your shoulders soft. And as you push up, keep your heels up. Raise the hips. Push forward. And okay, release, come out. The hips have to go way up for Adho Mukha Svanasana. So the side view with those feet wide, hands wide, is, watch, I tuck that arm in. So that's what it looks like from the side. And what that gets me is some softness here. So when I go up, the hips go way up. And as I go up, this muscle stays absolutely tucked. Okay, so you're way, see how my heels are up. Go, you do. Palms wide, fingers pretty much forward. Tuck your outer arm in quite firmly. Keep the tricep, trapezius, beg pardon, top shoulder broad. Now come up off those knees, pushing back, and keep tucking that upper arm in and pushing forward to the palm. And if you keep that trapezius spreading a bit, the push, keep going, Carolyn Schneider, keep moving those hips back. Move your, yes, open the line from your hands to your hips. You can even, Carolyn, wiggle your feet back, put more distance. Yes, that'll give you, do you feel it? Push more, you'll get some more space. Raise the hips. Keep the arms straight. Release, come out. Back to the knees. Have a rest. Are you okay? Yes? Okay. So look, there's more. When you were sitting here at the beginning of class, The basic idea is the spine stretches up very tall, and the action of the arm, it's actually, your arm is actually attached up here a little bit, and all the way down to here, muscles attached to your arm, right? So when you keep your spine long, you need this arm action to come away from the skull and away from the spine. So even as the hand comes up here, like it is in dog pose or Urdhva Hastasana, this muscle should be going that way, always away from the skull, always, never toward it, always away from it. That's your last bit there. So start like so, just kneeling, and see, when gravity is your friend here, how you can sit the spine up straight, release the arm down. Then when you head for dog pose, just make sure the action never goes backward. Keep pushing outward from the spine to the hand, through the nerve, from the brain down the neck to the hand. Push forward. That looks better, Carolyn, but you could even take your feet further back and raise those heels. Do this to maximize that space in the trunk, maximize the space in the armpits and shoulders, and keep the brain detached. Stretch your legs, pull back. Last few seconds, stretch your legs. Keep that top thigh tucked to the hip as firmly as the upper arm is tucked. And release, come out now. Rest. Okay, good. Carolyn, that was good. That changed quite a bit. I hope your neck feels good. Yes? Okay. Nobody's acquiring neck problems or shoulder problems. If you are, say something. So you need to take yourself somehow. I hope you have a way of being comfortable with your shins together, sitting on the heels or on a blanket under the heels. Will be a few minutes like this, okay? So you need to find a way of being comfortable so the knees don't pinch, ankles don't pinch. Some of you may put a blanket underneath the whole length of the shin so that the foot hangs off. And this saves people from ankle pain, overstretch of the ankle. Putting a blanket on the heels saves the knees. Okay. Now I've said this, and perhaps you have a strap. Please get a strap and then settle yourself. Okay, so Emilia, the strap is essential for you. Let's go by stages. First, you are, whether you're supported with blankets or not, the action is to stretch tremendously from the knee through that big toe. Push your big toe, the first toe, straight back. So there is an active lengthening of the shin. Release your thigh. So even though the leg is folded up, there's still this sense that there's action in the leg going away from the spine, away from the skull, toward the toes. Now it's the arm's turn. Away from the upward lifted spine, stretching out and away from the skull. Now, take your hands to the back of your sacrum. They can overlap a bit. We're going to do this twice. So if you've got a little overlap, you're just going to change. Okay? So wherever you've got hands on the sacrum, spine tall, push out through your big toes, and then push the hand against the back. Leave, now from the side, leave the elbow sort of forward, but move the shoulder back. Don't move your elbow back. Leave the elbow. Don't force it anywhere, but don't move it back. Move the shoulder back. Come out. Change hands. Press that sacrum. Stretch your spine up. Keep the elbow neutral. Don't push it back, but move the shoulder back. It's not as big an action. In this action, press your hand against your sacrum. Push it inward against that sacrum. Keep the elbow firm. Do you feel the effect of that? That pressure opens that chest. Hopefully, Emilia, is your shoulder okay? Yes? Okay, do it again. Change hands. You may come a bit closer, but don't go all the way to here yet. You can cross more, hand to hand if you like. Press in, lifting that chest. Keep the elbow neutral and move the shoulder back. The elbow, as it were, is just going to follow the shoulder. It's not leading. Okay, you get both sides twice. Then release, come out. So what happens next is the progression. Here's a doubled strap, and I hang it over my shoulder. This is my right hand. Okay, so, oh, sorry, I'm going to take one more step without the strap. Watch this. The right hand takes hold of the left. My right palm is holding the left. They're overlapping. And as my right hand grips, so does the left. So they're doing about the same thing. Now, watch. I hopped it up my ribs. Now here, and it just goes wherever it goes. Now in this position, I do the same thing. Stretch the spine. Press in, keep the elbow neutral, and roll the shoulder back. Keep lifting your spine. Release, come out. Change hands. So when I say stretch your spine, you want to turn it into a kind of a very straight, very firm stick, dunda. So when these hands are up here and they push, you don't go with them. You hold that spine, and the action of the arms does nothing but lift it. Legs down. Okay, Now, you know, you could continue this, especially if you have shoulder issues. You can keep your hands where you open the chest, and then you can try hopping up a little higher and hopping up a little higher and maintaining the same actions. Okay. So for many people, Amelia, is that staying okay for you, or it gets risky or good? Okay. So that is the approach to Gomukhasana with the lower arm. The lower arm goes wherever it can to preserve that action we were just doing. Okay. And it may go to where it needs to catch a strap. Now, this arm does dog pose. That outer shoulder is coming in, the arm stretches away from the skull. You take your hand down. Now, if the shoulder is happy, the fingers meet. If the shoulder has trouble, they don't. Don't push it. Pursue the actions of the pose. This arm holds that strap and pulls up. The lower arm doesn't get pulled up. It resists and drives in to lift the spine, just like before. Lift that top elbow. Sit down. Make sure you are completely seated. And release, come out carefully, one thing at a time. If the shoulder hurts, follow that pain-free track out. Okay, if you need to stretch your legs for a second, go right ahead. And then come on back in. Add padding as needed. Get ready. Side 2. Waving those feet around, does it help? It's instead of waving sleepy feet around, what you should do is just spread your toes. Just charge those feet with your prana, your action. That will bring the circulation back quick. Ticklishness or not. You ready? Side 2. Stretch your shins. Sit down. Lengthen that spine. Left arm finds its way. Your left arm goes to a comfortable place where it can. You're the laboratory, you're the experimenter. You are in control of the experiment, not me. I mean, I'm not denying responsibility, but this is my responsibility. Press your palm and lengthen your spine. Keep that shoulder. Use a strap as needed. Take that right arm up. Use that outer arm. Bend the elbow. Catch the strap or your fingers. Nobody's looking to see if you're catching. I'm looking to see if that spine is straight, that chest is opening. I can't see if you're stretching your toes, but stretch them. Take that elbow up, vertical, close to your skull. And release, come out. Now stretch your legs, come out. Perhaps Adho Mukha Svanasana. Take your hands down, turn your toes under. Carolyn, make sure you got the good distance from hands to feet. Now I see a gentleman with knee problems going up. So I know it, I can tell it looks difficult to really bend that knee. But if I can say it's more important to come to a straightening of the knee, a safe extension of that knee. So if you can keep your feet fixed on the floor and tighten that thigh, pull it up away from the foot. Without lifting the foot, lengthen the leg up toward the hip socket. So that you feel in between that firm foot and the very firm top thigh lifting, the knee just gets to stretch. You don't give the knee a particular instruction. You give the bones below it and above it instruction. Stretch the leg. Point your heel straight back, not away from each other, not toward each other. Stretch the outer heel backward, big toe straight forward, not in. Out you come. Have a rest. Okay. You still want a strap. And I think you might want a bolster, but just nearby, possibly a blanket. Again, just keep it nearby. At first, I will say this, the only people who need a blanket at first are the people whose thoracic spines are sort of curved and tight, so that when the head goes down, it tips back. If that is the case for you, you need to support the head so that that spine is kind of continuously curved. Okay, so those are the only people. Otherwise, if you don't need that, you lie flat. And your first job is to spread the back of you out on the floor. So I'm actually moving my rib cage away from my hips. And even though I tuck my shoulder blades away from the skull, the rib cage is staying lengthened. Okay, so I could even push on the floor to get that spine longer. Now, watch, the leg comes up, the other leg goes down. This is gonna make your back longer. Those with more flexibility, you catch with two hands and you see if you can go farther. This is according to your flexibility. Then everybody, unless you have like gallbladder pains or ulcers or liver issues, this upper digestive tract, if it has problems, don't do this part. If you're otherwise healthy, go for it. Make your back long. See how I'm widening my elbows. I'm stretching my back. So those with more flexibility will go farther. I don't care, just do your pose. And then see if you can stretch back down, taking advantage. You do that. So some of you are already in. Stretch that down leg, toes up, straight up. Now, if it is difficult to straighten the knee, you might put your heel on a brick or a blanket, that lower heel, That will make it easy for you to extend the thigh. The straightness of the leg is important. Now, 2 hands hold that strap. And walk your hands up the strap towards your foot, legs straight, chaya. Extend through the toe tips, push outward from the spine to the toes, from the skull, the brain to the toes. And take your foot towards your head as you extend away from the head. Ha ha, straight leg. And then exhaling, extend that back body towards your head as you come up, head to shin, shin to head, elbows wide, so you are spreading your back. Pull your toes as well as you can towards your head. Lift your trunk if your abdomen permits. And then roll that long back down, open your chest, bring your leg with you. Head down to a blanket or the floor, shoulders down. Release, come out, change sides. 2 straight legs. The one that's on the floor stays on the floor and it stays straight. It has always got a share of your attention. Don't be distracted. Keep that right leg straight. Take the left leg up, straighten it too. The 2 legs are going in different directions, one up, one out. But in a sense, they are still both going away from the head and away from the spine. So do those 2 jobs equally, both legs, right up to the toes. So pico, fogo, your inner foot really needs to stretch more, the inner shin. So your foot's like this, and you want to push like that. Really try to get that inner heel, big foot, big toe extended. Extend your big foot, everybody. And then keep extending, bringing the foot towards your head. Walk your hands towards your foot so those arms lengthen away from the spine and skull. And then exhaling, raise the head to the shin, bring the shin toward the head, close that pose, keep the legs straight, keep the elbows wide, back of the neck long, stretch the leg on the floor, even if it comes off the floor, big toe base joint in your foot. And now release that spine back down, trying to maintain that length of the back. Head down, shoulders down, legs stretching more deeply, and release, come out. Bend your knees, roll to the side, come up.
Devon, one question.
Yes.
As I go up higher, especially in my left leg where the hip is less open, but in both, I feel like something. I turn out a little in this floor leg, the leg that's down. If I don't, my hips catch.
Both hips.
More the left.
Yes. First of all, do less pose. So don't do quite so much.
Okay.
And the problem is the action is reversing itself when you go deeper in the pose.
Okay.
So everything is fine here,
Yes,
But when you start going deeper, this leg starts rolling out.
exactly.
And it's the pressure valve for this hip too. So what actually is the pressure valve is go away from the skull and away from the spine.
But the
Away from the skull and away from the spine. This spine, I got my finger on my pelvis, but it's the trunk, goes broad to the floor and away from the leg. So you remember all the work we do with the strap around this top thigh. You could, without too much trouble, also work with a thin blanket under in this hip.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So this little blanket here, you can pull on.
Yeah, I see.
And it puts a spacer in this front thigh. So, and it's telling your pelvis what to do as much as the leg. So you can.
I'm sorry, you think the problem with the standing leg is the leg I'm lifting?
I think it's both. It's an absolute interaction.
Okay, okay.
Absolute.
Okay. I will try that. Thank you.
Okay. All right. We've got another thing to do that is much different. So here's where the bolster comes in. And if you don't have a bolster, you just get like a stack of folded blankets or rolled, I don't know, but you got to build a big enough pile that it acts like a bolster. And if you only have a little bolster, you can make a bigger one. Here's how big it needs to be. Hips on the floor. I draw the length of this abdomen and put the bottom of the rib cage on that blanket. So it's kind of like a prop, a temporary prop. But it keeps this part of me long. So then I have a strap. And I put it around my foot. And see how close my arm is to my foot. I keep that there. And then I bend the knee. Now watch from this side. I bend the knee and I catch that foot. This hand is pulling this way. This hand is pulling this way. So pulling away from each other helps my hip. At a certain point, you can just slide your arm behind your head. Now it's up here, so it might be closer than you think. Pull sideways, and then see if you can go behind your head. Keep pulling sideways. Try, see what you get. Prop that back up, keep both hips on the floor, put that strap around your right foot, right? And then it comes in and your left hand holds, and I'm pulling right and I'm pulling left. And that pulling might help me bring that foot in closer. And if it does, maybe you let out some slack, only the minimum to get behind your head and pull. This hand pulls, this hand pulls. Release, come out. This looks good. All of you got somewhere. Okay. Did anybody have a bad time? No bad time. Okay. Are the knee problems okay in this kind of work? Yes, good. Hopefully, because it really is work on the hip. So if you keep it in hip and foot and out at the knee, it'll help the knee. You ready for side two? Prop up. Make sure your back is kind of comfy. You're giving support to this it kind of intense work here, trying to make it quiet in the hip. So it's the left leg that comes up, strap around the foot, and you reach out for that foot. So your strap is as close as it's going to get. So if you could get right to your foot, then you do that, okay? And then the knee bends and you're pulling elbowward and your other hand catches. Pull both ways. Spread your shoulders, and that foot approaches. And when it gets in, sniffing range, go for over the head. If you can sniff your feet, clean or otherwise, make the try. Now pull. And then maybe you can walk in and release come out. Now at a certain point, you let go with that free hand and it's just the foot, behind the head. And when it's like that, your head has to do some of its own work to keep its length, right? You can't be shrunk and pulled and, collapsed by the pose. Part of what's going on in this pose is learning how to keep that original extension coming all the way up. So I'm not telling you to get flat on the floor in this pose. I'm just telling you there's some neck strength coming into the picture even this early in the pose. It's 10:14. I'm not about to take you into this pose again. You got 1 minute. So we need to leave this. Perhaps we'll take it up another time. In the meanwhile, please lie on your back with your back spread. And everybody elevate the head. So not too much, don't over elevate it, but I want what for you counts as a distinct head lift, distinct neck support. So it might be a double blanket, might be a triple blanket, distinct for you. Shoulders down, back of the neck long, shoulders broad, low back long. Doesn't have to be flat on the floor. That's kind of important. Don't smush anything. Spread it. Let your arms go out to the side. Now, with this head lifted this way, if your throat feels constricted, closed in the mouth or tongue, that means the support is not quite right, and you should lift right under the base of the skull and open that throat region. Now, as you wish, you can stretch your legs. So what that looks like, by the way, someone who might need this, you can take that blanket and make a ridge that would go comfortably underneath your neck. And what that does, if you get it right for your neck, it basically takes your skull off your throat. And you can still keep the back of the neck long. So you've got to find what is comfy for your personal neck. I'm one of those people who does have compression close to the skull itself. And this kind of lift can be significantly more comfortable. So again, yours is the laboratory. You are the experimenter. You're the head of the lab, and you are also the experiment. These words come from Prashant Iyengar. He gets the credit for that way of explaining this. Okay, it is 10:18, past time. I'm going to let you stay in Shavasana as you
Devon,
wish.
we have class longer. We have class until 11:15. It goes from 9:30 till 10:45.
I just don't know this system. I mean, every time I get a new schedule, you are right. Now I see that. So we have to not do Shavasana and come out. We can do more. I do beg your pardon. My sense of time is messy.
Absolutely fine.
I think I might need a secretary or something. Thank you, Gay. All right, I do have more where this comes from. Let's have a look. There's a lot more where this comes from. From your resting place with a strap. Let's take more pose. So no bolster now. You just have whatever suits your head. The leg comes up as before. The other leg stretches straight as before. Thighs firm in the hip sockets. Shoulders on the back. So all the rules are being observed. When you take, now I'm going to turn. When you take this leg to the side, your outer arm, this part, has to tuck in to its socket as this part is reaching out, is spreading. Likewise, in the hip, the outer thigh tucks and the inner thigh stretches. This leg, I hope you can see my foot. If you move it slightly left, it makes it easier to keep this side of the abdomen down. So you go as far as you go. This buttock stays down. No pressure on the groins. Supta Parankushtasana 2. Stretch your leg, Carolyn. Stretch your leg, Chaya. Now, anybody, everybody, look at that leg and see that your foot is running parallel to the floor. That makes sense? Outer edge of the foot parallel. Legs going to the side, Karen. And look at your knee. See that your kneecap is facing that point on that bone on the head of the knee. See that it's facing the same direction your toes are facing. That means you must turn your thigh, outer knee toward the floor, not the toes, outer foot parallel, outer knee parallel. Reach out through that foot into your strap, reach far. Inhale, come up without bending the knee. You have to lift from the outer thigh and release that leg, come out. Stretch both legs flat. Notice the difference. Side two. Keep the right leg straight. You may move it slightly to the right, as I showed. Take your left leg up first to vertical and organize its action. This is, you might say, a safe-ish type place. Strap around the foot, so when you push that leg straight, it pushes against something that gives it a very good sense of direction when you pull back on the strap. Stretch the leg straight, open the back of the knee, push the calf toward the foot. And the right leg, of course, and it may move slightly to the right. That gives you a little more balance when the left leg goes. Tuck your arm into the socket, thigh into the socket, and off you go. One hand on that strap. Go off to the side, lateral. Outer thigh tucking. Inner groin reaching to the big toe. Both legs. And in between those two actions, the groins are soft and the breath is soft. So the laboratory there is not overheating. Not overheating mentally, physically, physiologically. Inhale, come up. Release, come out. Okay. You probably want, if you're very stiff in the groins, you need big support, like 2 bolsters. I don't recommend it go unless you're really in a fix. What everybody should try at least at first is 2 rolled blankets. 1 roll, 2 rolls separately. Okay, now, so they go like this, parallel to each other. I'm going to show you from the side at first and then straight on. So watch. The first, if I were lying face down on the floor, 1 blanket roll would go right under my groin and give it support. And the second blanket roll would go under the shin and foot entirely. So my foot doesn't hang off it. It goes all the way to the foot. So if you can't see it from this view, you'll see something. Okay, so I lie flat and I put my groin on the first blanket. And if the flexibility, and this side is perpendicular, like it was in my demo there. And the shin is parallel to the mat. So 90-degree angle at the thigh, 90-degree angle at the hip, and if possible, turn your trunk to the floor. If the groin is not supported, you must add support. That groin should not be airborne at this time. Now, the leg that's straight, turn your toes under and stretch that leg straight, keeping the pelvis on the floor. So if you can't see me when you're in the pose, I'll show you what comes next. You're going to be like this for a bit, and the first thing that happens is you need to activate this outer hip, pressing it down. So it doesn't press at the low back, it's pressing at the low buttock, down. This part, like your buttock bone hip socket, is trying to push down. So there's that. And then if that comes, see how my toes go to the floor, and I see how can I possibly lift my knee. Do you see that? Lift your knee. Lift your knee. There's some strength there. Okay, go face down, right groin supported, right knee and shin and foot on another blanket. So there's a horizontal tie, 2 blankets. Yeah, bring that second one all the way to the knee. Now, your first job is to open to face the floor as best you can without causing groin pain. That means your bent leg knee might push out a little to the right, or you might pick up your belly and draw it a bit to the left. But see if you can spread. Keep that foot supported. Then, with that whole shin and foot supported and the groin in contact with its support, see if you can press that right bent leg, buttock bone, toward the blanket. If you can use that outer buttock muscle, can you get anything out of it? It's not about your low back, it's about that hip. Tightening the outer thigh, facing the floor. Now, just do that a few times. If that is just remarkably inscrutable and you can't figure it out, then you have to stay there. Just keep trying to tighten the buttock and press. Those who can try to go farther, keep your left foot, straight leg foot, toes turned under. And then the other way, Chaya, toe prints on the floor. So you're like this on the floor, not like that. Turn under. No, your left foot. Left foot. Yes. Now the right toes go to the floor. You lie flat and try to raise the knee, the right knee. And you're doing it by hip action, by the left hip action, the right hip action, beg pardon, not left hip action. So be very clear, you're lifting the knee, not your buttock, if you can manage that, not the buttock. It is quite difficult to parse out the action. And it's, yes, that's better. So Pico, that last one is a little better. Yeah, keep that pelvis stable. Okay, now that's plenty, you notice. Some of you, it's quite difficult. Change sides, come out, roll onto your back or do something neutral for just a moment, whatever that means for you. Now, some of you have taken your blankets and rolled them quite long. I'm saying longer is thinner, shorter is thicker. So be very clear that the support you're giving yourself is sufficient. Don't be terribly ambitious, especially if this is your kind of first experiment here. So the left knee is bent, perpendicular, left thigh is perpendicular to the spine, shin is parallel, left groin is properly supported all the way to the foot. And if possible, you flatten your trunk back to face the floor as best you can. No penalty for any position. Okay. And then when you're ready, your right leg, that long straight leg, turn the toes under so the toe print is on the floor and the back of the leg stretches. And then see, can you organize that left buttock, left hip socket to press toward the blanket? Not lifting the knee yet, just trying to get the pelvic side of things organized. Rolling that left buttock down so the left hip is anchored. Then, if that happens, if you've got some control there, see if you can stabilize that pelvis, maintain it as you raise the knee. 1/4 inch. You just have to, make it lighter on the blanket. It doesn't even have to come off. All right. And let go of that. And then roll over. And everybody should roll onto your back and just spread your back, knees bent for a bit, and then legs straight. Make yourself comfy, flat. Now in that flatness, your hips should feel like they've been slightly remodeled. There's some changes in the circulation. Now, everybody, just a hand up or down. Is your low back okay? Okay. Anybody have low back pain? Show a hand. Okay, good. So come out, roll to the side. Now, Gay, is it true? Are we approaching we have 10 minutes left. Is that true? Okay, good. Excellent. You would like probably a blanket and a brick. Now, if you have a lot of sensitivity in the low back, you might need to, I don't know, get 2 more bricks or a bolster, something to lift your feet. I will show. Here's a bolster. It's losing its stuffing. And here's a support for my shoulders. It just has to be wide enough. It's got to be wide enough to support your shoulders. So it can, if you're going to elevate the shoulders, just make sure nothing's hanging off the sides of your support. Mine, of course, is crooked. Okay, a brick, possibly a bolster, and a blanket. Now, the blanket goes under your shoulders. These feet, you're lying on your back, and your back is broad. And in theory, you bring your feet in close. Now, when the knees don't bend like this, They might bend if you keep the heels lifted. You might get more folding in the knee just by raising the heels and making the shins go up. But if that's not happening, the next thing is to brace. I'm just stabilizing this so it doesn't roll away from me. So you elevate the feet, and it makes it easier to get some height in the pose. So the same thing is true like this. Raising the heels makes it easier to come up in the pose. So you lift your hips, pain-free in the knees, and remember the arm instructions. That outer arm tucks in, and the arm stretches away from the skull. And the chest spreads away from the skull. And against the floor, lift the chest. So I've made my shins super tall. And it makes it possible to bring this brick in and have plenty of room to spare. So let's work on Chatushpadasana with those shins as long as possible. And if necessary, the people whose knees don't flex so much to come in close to the hips, elevate the feet on something. So the knee can bend as much as possible, but the foot is high, something stable. Now, those who have begun here, feet on the floor, knees, heels up, shins super tall beyond the base joints of the toes. Now, lift off those hips. Lift off the hips, press down through the feet. Reach your arms out, stretch out through your arms. Heels up, don't come to rest on the brick. Come off the brick. Reach your arms toward your feet. Reach your arms toward your feet. On the blanket, on the floor. Press your arm down, shoulder down to the floor. Lift your ribs up. And keeping the ribs up, reach that back of the arm toward your feet. Press your feet, lift your hips higher off the brick. Spine long. Then you come and rest on the brick, keeping those shoulders tucked. Tall brick. Tall brick. If that brick stays vertical, you can stretch your legs. So Pico, the issue with foam bricks is they tilt easily. It is possible to keep it vertical, but yours is tilting. Yes, that's a good way. If it's comfy, keep that. Lift your ribs. Roll those triceps in. Release the neck and throat. I know I'm used to teaching an 8 a.m. morning class, which is tomorrow for the yoga tree. And that's why I decided this class ended. My mind works in mysterious ways. Now, last 5 minutes, few minutes, let's take Shavasana. So you want to, one thing at a time, come out of this pose. Each time you move something, observe. Raise the hips, remove the brick, lower the hips slowly. If that low back is stiff from this position, give it a chance to settle. And you have a few minutes for Shavasana. So take your time and support properly. Again, if that little roll under the neck instead of height under the head is more suitable for your condition, then you take that. Some of you I see with support under the knees. This is fine. Gay, I would also add under the heels. Not if you had two bolsters on, or why not a chair, then the heels will be supported as well. Not so complicated a setup. And a blanket on the chair seat if you're cold. So one phase of the experiment of this class is completed. Now it is time to, not so intellectually, but just with your senses, absorb the effects. Register. What is the condition of all the regions, compartments? How is the breath? How are the thoughts? So use these last few breaths of your Shavasana to empty the vessel, so to speak, mind, body, whatever part has got your attention. Use your exhalation as a cleaning device that is washing through, rinsing thought, muscle, organ, joint, whatever you're focused on. Use that exhalation to wash clean. Let the exhalation be complete. Finish the exhalation. You want the vessel to empty. It's up to you. Do this 4 or 5 times. Let go. And then you can bring yourself out of Shavasana. You may also stay if you like where you are. You're all home. There's no pressure to change. So to everybody, whatever your state, you may stay put. Please do. I say Namaskar. I bow to you. Thank you. See you next time.